I promoted my son on a Thursday. The conference room was packed. Board members, department heads, regional managers, all of them crammed into that glass box on the 14th floor, waiting to hear what I had to say. I'd built this company from nothing. Started in a rented warehouse 30 years ago with 2 trucks and a dream that probably looked stupider than it was. Now we had facilities in 8 states, over 400 employees, and revenue that made my younger self want to weep. And I was giving it to him. Not all of it, obviously. But enough. Vice President of Operations. Real authority, real control, the kind of position that meant something. My son stood beside me at the front of the room, wearing a suit that cost more than my first car. He smiled at the crowd like a politician, all teeth and confidence. I'd seen that smile since he was a kid, usually right before he talked his way out of trouble or into something he wanted. "Thank you all for coming," I said, keeping it brief. "I've never been good at speeches. Most of you know why we're here. After a lot of consideration, I've decided it's time to bring fresh energy into leadership. My son has proven himself over the past 3 years. He understands this business. He understands where we need to go. Effective immediately, he's Vice President of Operations." Applause. Genuine, I think. People liked him. He had that quality. Made you want to be around him. Made you feel like you were part of something bigger when he talked. Then he stepped forward. "Thanks, Dad," he said, and something in his tone made me glance at him. "I know this wasn't easy for you. Letting go never is." The room went quiet. But I want everyone here to know, this company has an incredible foundation. My father built something remarkable, and now it's time to build on that foundation. Time to modernize. Time to think bigger. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at them. We've been doing things the same way for a long time. That's served us well. But the world's changing. Our competitors are changing. And if we don't change with them, we'll be left behind. I stood there, hands in my pockets, watching him work the room. Every word was perfect. Every pause calculated. He had them leaning forward in their seats. "So, yes, thank you, Dad, for this opportunity, for trusting me. I won't let you down." He turned to me then, extended his hand. I shook it. His grip was firm, confident. "And thank you all," he said, "for being here, for being part of what comes next." More applause, louder this time. I smiled, said a few more words I don't remember, and then it was done. People came up to congratulate him, to congratulate me. I shook hands, accepted pats on the back, nodded at comments about legacy and succession and the future. The whole time, I felt something cold in my chest. Later, after everyone had filtered out, I stood at the window and looked down at the parking lot. My son was down there with a group of younger managers, laughing about something. Even from 14 floors up, I could see the way they orbited him. "You did good," someone said behind me. I turned. It was Tom, my CFO. Been with me for 15 years, solid guy, conservative with money, which in my book meant he was doing his job right. "Yeah?" I said. "He's ready. You can see it." I nodded. Didn't say what I was thinking, which was that ready and trustworthy weren't the same thing. "How's Linda taking it?" Tom asked. Linda, my son's wife, or as I thought of her, the woman who'd turned my easygoing kid into someone who checked his phone during Christmas dinner. "She's thrilled," I said. "This is what she's been pushing for." Tom made a sound that might have been agreement. He wasn't a fan of Linda either, though he was too professional to say it directly. "Well," he said, "if you need anything, you know where to find me." He left. I stayed at the window, watching the parking lot empty as the day shift ended. Somewhere down there, my son was probably planning his next move, probably on the phone with Linda, telling her it had gone perfectly. I wondered if he'd mentioned the letting go comment, wondered if they'd laughed about it together. 3 weeks later, my accountant called. His name was Vincent. late 60s, meticulous to the point of obsession, and completely uninterested in office politics. He'd been doing the company's books since before my son was born. If Vincent called me directly instead of sending an email, something was wrong. "Sir," he said, and his voice had that tight quality that meant he was barely holding on to his composure. "I found something terrible in the books. Come immediately and don't tell your son." I was in my home office when he called. It was a Saturday morning, early. My wife had gone to visit her sister for the weekend, so the house was quiet. "What kind of something?" I asked. "Not over the phone, please. Come to my office now." He hung up. I sat there for a minute, phone still in my hand, trying to decide if this was Vincent being dramatic or if he was actually scared. Vincent didn't do drama. Vincent sent itemized emails about expense reports and asked clarifying questions in a tone so dry it could start fires. I got dressed and drove to his office. Vincent worked out of a small building near the financial district, the kind of place that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 90s. Beige walls, industrial carpet, fluorescent lights that hummed like dying insects. His office was on the 3rd floor. He was waiting for me at the door. "Thank you for coming," he said, ushering me inside like he was afraid someone might see us. His office was exactly what you'd expect. Filing cabinets, a desk covered in spreadsheets, a computer with 2 monitors showing columns of numbers I couldn't begin to interpret. The whole place smelled like coffee and paper. "What's going on, Vincent?" He closed the door, locked it. Then he went to his desk and pulled up something on his computer. "I was reconciling the quarterly reports," he said, speaking fast. "Standard procedure. I do it every quarter, you know this. And I noticed some discrepancies. Small ones. The kind of thing that could be clerical errors, but..." He trailed off, clicking through screens. "But what?" But they weren't clerical errors. He turned one of the monitors toward me. "Look at this." It was a spreadsheet, lots of numbers, lots of dates. I'm not an accountant. I built my business on understanding logistics and people, not financial minutiae, but even I could see the highlighted sections he was pointing to. "Your son has been making transfers," Vincent said. "Moving funds between accounts, restructuring assets, changing operational budgets." "He's VP of Operations," I said. "That's his job." "Not like this." Vincent pulled up another screen. "He's been pledging company assets as collateral for new credit lines, ones you didn't approve. He's reassigned equipment from existing contracts and redirected them to new ventures that don't exist in any official capacity." I stared at the screen. "He's also changed access credentials," Vincent continued. "I only noticed because I track these things manually. You've been locked out of several operational systems. Your security clearances at 3 of the main facilities have been downgraded." The cold feeling from the conference room came back, stronger this time. "When?" I asked. "The transfers started 2 weeks after his promotion. The access changes happened 4 days ago." "Is any of this illegal?" Vincent hesitated. "No. Technically, everything he's done falls within the authority you gave him as VP of Operations. He has the power to make these decisions. But morally, ethically, sir, he's dismantling your control of the company, piece by piece. And if he finalizes what I think he's trying to finalize..." "What?" "There's a board meeting scheduled for next month. I wasn't supposed to see the agenda. It came through on a misfiled email chain. But the topic is restructuring executive authority. If it passes, you'll be chairman in name only. All operational control goes to him." I sat down in the chair across from his desk. My legs felt distant. "Why?" I said, more to myself than to Vincent. "I don't know. But sir, you can't tell him you know. Not yet. If he realizes you're aware, he'll accelerate whatever he's planning. You need time to counter this." I looked at Vincent. His hands were shaking slightly. "How long have you known?" I asked. "I started noticing irregularities a week ago. I wasn't sure what I was seeing until yesterday. I wanted to be certain before I called you." "Does anyone else know?" "No, I haven't told anyone. I came in this morning specifically to call you in private. I stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the city looked normal. Cars driving by, people walking dogs, the world continuing like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Thank you, Vincent, I said. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. My mind was moving through possibilities, through responses, through the kind of calculations I hadn't had to make in years. Nothing, I finally said. For now, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. Vincent looked confused. But sir, he thinks I'm old, thinks I'm soft, thinks I don't pay attention anymore. I turned from the window. Let him keep thinking that. Keep tracking everything. Document every move he makes, but don't tell him anything's wrong. You're going to let him continue? I'm going to let him finish. Vincent opened his mouth, closed it. Then he nodded slowly. I'll keep records of everything, he said. I left his office and sat in my car for 20 minutes before starting the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from my son. Hey, Dad, Linda and I want to take you to dinner next week. Celebrate the promotion properly. Let me know when works for you. I stared at the message. Then I typed back, sounds great. I'll check my schedule. The dinner happened on a Wednesday. They picked an expensive restaurant downtown, the kind of place with a sommelier and waiters who described each dish like they were reading poetry. Linda had made the reservation, which meant it was somewhere she wanted to be seen. My son arrived first, which surprised me. Usually, Linda orchestrated every entrance. He was at the bar, nursing a whiskey, when I walked in. Dad. He stood up, gave me a hug that lasted exactly the right amount of time to seem genuine. Thanks for coming. Of course, I said. We made small talk while we waited for Linda. He asked about Mom, about the house, about whether I was planning to do any traveling now that I had more free time. That last part, he said with a smile, like it was a joke between us. I smiled back. Linda arrived 15 minutes late, which I suspected was intentional. She liked making entrances. Tonight she wore a black dress that probably cost as much as my first month's rent 30 years ago, and she moved through the restaurant like she owned it. Sorry I'm late, she said, kissing my son and then giving me a brief hug that felt like a business transaction. Traffic was impossible. We sat down, ordered drinks, made more small talk. The whole time, I watched them. Really watched them. Linda controlled the conversation. She'd ask me a question, then redirect my answer into something else. She'd touch my son's arm when she wanted him to speak, squeeze it gently when she wanted him to stop. It was subtle. Most people probably wouldn't notice. But I'd spent 30 years reading people's tells in negotiations. So, Dad, my son said after our appetizers arrived, I wanted to talk to you about some ideas I have for the company. Ideas? Expansion opportunities. Linda's been doing some research. I've been looking into the Southwest market. Linda interrupted smoothly. There's significant growth potential there. Underserved areas, weak competition, perfect for what we do. We already have operations in Nevada, I said. Not enough. We need a bigger footprint. She leaned forward. The board agrees. We've been having preliminary discussions. I sipped my wine. Preliminary discussions about what? About strategy, my son said. About where we should focus our resources. The consensus is that we need to be more aggressive, take bigger risks. Risks require capital, I said. We have capital, Linda said. We just need to reallocate it properly. There it was. Reallocate. Vincent's word, dressed up in Linda's smooth delivery. What kind of reallocation? I asked. My son glanced at Linda. She gave him a tiny nod. We're looking at restructuring some of our existing contracts, he said. Moving equipment and personnel to higher value opportunities. It means some short-term disruption, but long-term, the returns would be significant. I set down my fork. You're already doing this. He blinked. What? Moving equipment. Restructuring contracts. You've already started. Linda's expression didn't change, but my son's did. Just for a second. A flash of something. Surprise, maybe, or calculation. "We've made some preliminary adjustments," he said carefully. "Nothing major, just testing the waters." Testing the waters with company assets. "With my authority as VP of Operations," he said, and now there was an edge in his voice. "That's why you promoted me, right? To make these kinds of decisions?" I looked at him, saw my younger self in his face, the jaw, the eyes, the way his mouth tightened when he was challenged, but I didn't see myself in what was behind those eyes. "You're right," I said. "That is why I promoted you." Linda relaxed slightly. My son nodded. "I'm glad you understand," he said. We finished dinner, made more pleasant conversation. Linda told me about a charity gala she was organizing. My son mentioned a golf trip he was planning. They asked if I wanted to join, knowing I'd say no. I said no. When we left the restaurant, my son hugged me again. "Thanks for being so understanding, Dad," he said. "I know change is hard, but I promise I'm going to make you proud." I drove home and sat in the driveway for a while before going inside. The next morning, I went to the office early. The building was mostly empty at 6 a.m. Security waved me through, same as always. I took the elevator to 14, walked past the conference room where I'd made the announcement, and went to my son's new office. It used to be a storage room. Now it was bigger than mine, with better furniture and a view of the river. I used my master key, which apparently still worked, and went inside. His desk was organized, too organized, everything in its place, nothing personal except a photo of him and Linda at their wedding. I sat in his chair and opened his computer. Locked. I tried a few passwords. His birthday. Linda's birthday. Their anniversary. Nothing worked. Then I tried something else. The day I promoted him. The computer unlocked. I spent the next hour going through files, emails, calendar entries, and with every click, every opened document, the picture became clearer. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't opportunistic. He'd been planning this for months, maybe years. There were emails to Linda from before the promotion, discussing strategies for transition, calendar entries for meetings with board members I didn't know he'd been talking to, files outlining operational changes, budget reallocations, personnel shifts, all of it drafted before I'd ever offered him the position. The promotion wasn't a gift I gave him, it was a trap he'd set for me. I found a folder labeled Phase 2. Inside were documents outlining the board meeting Vincent had mentioned, proposals for restructuring executive authority, legal justifications for why it was necessary for company growth, talking points for convincing board members who might resist. At the bottom of the folder was a document titled Contingencies. I opened it. It was a list of potential problems, things that might go wrong, ways I might resist. Next to each potential problem was a solution. For father refuses to cooperate, leverage board majority, frame resistance as inability to adapt. For father attempts to reverse promotion, utilize established operational control, present him as unstable. For father discovers plan early, accelerate timeline, force confrontation on our terms. I sat back in his chair, my son, my blood. The kid I'd taught to ride a bike, to shake hands firmly, to always look someone in the eye when you made a promise. He'd written a contingency plan for neutralizing me. I closed the computer, locked the office, took the elevator back down. Security was changing shifts. The new guard greeted me cheerfully, asked if I was heading out for breakfast. I said yes, smiled, walked to my car like everything was normal. Then I sat in the driver's seat and thought about what Vincent had said. You need time to counter this. No, I didn't need time. I needed motion. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to the industrial district on the south side of town, where we kept our oldest facility. It was a warehouse complex I'd bought 23 years ago, back when that part of the city was mostly abandoned factories and optimistic developers. Now it was surrounded by renovated lofts and artisanal coffee shops, but the warehouse itself hadn't changed much. 3 buildings connected by covered walkways, loading docks that could accommodate 40 trucks at once, and enough storage space to house inventory for half our regional operations. It was also where I'd started, where I'd worked 70-hour weeks alongside people who believed in something I could barely articulate, where I'd learned that running a company wasn't about strategy or quarterly reports. It was about who showed up when things got hard. I pulled into the parking lot at 7:30. The morning shift was just starting. I recognized most of the faces, guys who'd been with me for years, some of them since the beginning. They nodded as I walked past, called out greetings, went back to their work. I found the facility manager in his office, a cramped room overlooking the main floor. His name was Dale. Ex-Army, early 50s, built like someone who'd spent his youth lifting heavy things and never stopped. He looked up when I knocked. "Boss," he said, surprised. "Didn't know you were coming by." "Surprise inspection?" I said, closing the door behind me. Dale grinned. "Find anything wrong yet?" "Not yet. But I need to talk to you about something." His grin faded. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. I sat. "What's going on?" he asked. I'd known Dale for 17 years. He'd started as a floor worker, moved up to supervisor, then manager. He was loyal. More importantly, he was smart enough to know when something wasn't right. "My son," I said. "Has he been here recently?" Dale nodded. "Last week. He came by with some people from corporate. Said he was familiarizing himself with operations." "What did they look at?" "Inventory systems, equipment logs, personnel records." Dale paused. He also asked about access protocols. Who has keys to what? Who can authorize transfers? That kind of thing. "Did he ask about me specifically?" Dale's expression shifted. "Yeah. He asked what level of access you had here. I told him you have master access to everything. It's your facility." "What did he say to that?" "He said that might be changing. Said the company was restructuring authority to be more efficient." Dale leaned forward. "Boss, I didn't like the way he said it. Sounded like he was testing to see if I'd object." "Did you?" "No, but I made a note of it." I felt some of the tension in my chest ease slightly. Dale was paying attention. "I need you to do something for me," I said. "And I need you to not ask questions about why." Dale studied my face. Then he nodded. "What do you need?" "I want a complete audit of everything my son looked at when he was here. Every file he accessed, every system he logged into, every person he talked to. Can you do that?" "Yeah. We keep security logs. I can pull them." "Do it quietly. Don't tell anyone what you're looking for." "Even your son?" "Especially my son." Dale didn't blink. "Okay. One more thing," I said. "If he comes back, or if anyone from corporate tries to change access protocols without my direct approval, I want to know immediately." "You think he's trying to lock you out?" I met his eyes. "I think he's trying to take something that doesn't belong to him." Dale was quiet for a moment. Then he stood up and extended his hand. "You built this place," he said. "Anyone tries to take it from you, they'll have to go through me first." I shook his hand. "Get me those logs," I said. I spent the rest of the morning walking through the facility, talking to workers, checking systems. Everything looked normal. Good, even. Inventory was organized, equipment was maintained. The whole operation ran like the machine I'd built it to be. But underneath the surface, things were moving. Dale found me around noon. He handed me a tablet with the security logs pulled up. "Your son accessed 16 different files," he said. Most of them were operational. Equipment manifests, maintenance schedules, personnel rosters. But 3 of them were administrative. "Which 3? "Emergency contact protocols, financial access codes, and this one." He tapped the screen. It was a document I'd forgotten existed. A contingency plan I'd written years ago, back when the company was small enough that one disaster could end everything. It outlined what would happen if I was incapacitated or unable to run operations. Who would take over? How authority would transfer? What assets would be protected? He spent 20 minutes reading it, Dale said. I stared at the screen. Thanks, Dale. He took back the tablet. You want me to keep monitoring? Yeah, and Dale, change the access codes he used. Make it look routine. Already done, Dale said. I left the facility at 1 and drove to a diner I used to go to when I was starting out. It was the kind of place that hadn't changed in 30 years. Same booths, same menu, same waitress who'd been working there since before I bought my first truck. I ordered coffee and a sandwich I didn't eat and tried to think through what I knew. My son had planned this before I promoted him. He'd researched, prepared, built contingencies, and now he was systematically taking control of the infrastructure that made the company work. But he'd made mistakes. He'd moved too fast with the financial transfers. Vincent had noticed. He'd been too obvious at the facility. Dale had noticed. And he'd underestimated how much people still saw me as the real authority, regardless of titles. The question was what to do about it. I could confront him directly. But that was what his contingency plan expected. He'd already prepared for that scenario, frame me as resistant to change, unable to adapt, possibly unstable. I could go to the board. But he'd been courting them for months. Who knew how many he'd already convinced? Or I could do what I'd told Vincent. Let him finish, let him think he was winning, let him commit completely, and then take it all back in a way he couldn't counter. My phone buzzed. A text from my wife checking in from her sister's place. I texted back that everything was fine. Then I scrolled through my contacts and found a number I hadn't called in years. His name was Ray. We'd served together in the reserves back when I was young and stupid enough to think military service and entrepreneurship could coexist. He'd gone career military, retired as a major, now ran a private security consulting firm. He answered on the third ring. This is Ray. Ray, it's me. Silence. Then, Jesus, how long has it been? Too long. I need a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where you don't ask questions and send me a bill later. I could hear him smiling through the phone. I'm listening. I need surveillance, discreet, temporary, on someone who doesn't know he's being watched. Family or business? Both. Ray was quiet for a moment. That kind of surveillance gets complicated. Can you do it? Yeah, but it won't be cheap. I don't care about cheap. I care about good. When do you need it? Yesterday. I'll have someone in place by tonight. Send me the details. I hung up and sent him a text with my son's address, his office location, and Linda's information. Then I sat in that diner booth and drank cold coffee and thought about the fact that I was having my own son followed. The waitress came by and asked if I wanted anything else. I said no. She left the check. On my way out, I stopped at the payphone near the bathroom. Yes, they still had a payphone. I dropped in quarters and called a number I'd memorized years ago. A voice answered. Callahan and Associates. I need to speak with Martin Callahan, I said. May I ask who's calling? Tell him it's about a long-term client who needs to restructure some assets. I was put on hold for 30 seconds. Then a different voice came on. This is Martin. Martin, it's me. Well, hell, haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? I need you to review my company's legal structure. Specifically, I need to know what authority I can revoke and what I'm locked into. What kind of authority? Executive? Operational? Anything I might have delegated that I can take back? This about your son? I shouldn't have been surprised that Martin knew. He'd helped me draft the succession plans years ago. Yeah, I said. What did he do? What he thinks he's supposed to do. Martin made a sound I couldn't interpret. I'll pull the documents. Give me 24 hours. Thanks, Martin. Hey, he said before I could hang up. Be careful. Family stuff gets ugly fast. I know. I drove home. My wife was due back the next day. The house felt too empty. I went to my office and pulled up the company's organizational charts, studied them, looked for weaknesses, places where my son had authority but not complete control, gaps I could exploit. Around 8 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Ray's associate," a voice said. "I'm in position. Subject just left his residence with his wife. They're heading downtown. Looks like dinner." "Stay on them," I said. "Copy that." I hung up and sat in the darkness of my office, listening to the house settle around me. Somewhere across the city, my son was having dinner with his wife, probably celebrating how well his plan was going. And I was sitting here in the dark, planning how to destroy him. The next 3 days were a study in normalcy. I went to the office, attended meetings, smiled at people, made small talk. My son and I crossed paths twice, once in the hallway, once in the executive parking garage. Both times he was friendly, asked how I was doing, mentioned something about the Southwest expansion. I played my part, said I was fine, said the expansion sounded interesting. Watched him walk away. Ray's surveillance reports came in every night. My son was consistent. Work, gym, home, dinner out twice, meeting with board members once. Everything documented, everything logged. On the third night, the report included something new. Subject met with an individual identified as Richard Kemp at a private club downtown. Conversation lasted 90 minutes, appeared cordial but focused. Subject took notes. Richard Kemp. I knew the name. He was on our board. Old money rarely spoke during meetings, but when he did, people listened. If my son had him, he probably had the votes. Martin called me that same night. "I've reviewed everything," he said. "The good news is, you have more authority than you probably remember. The promotion you gave your son doesn't actually grant him autonomous control. Every major decision still requires either board approval or your sign-off." What's the bad news? The bad news is that your corporate bylaws allow for a vote of no confidence. If 2/3 of the board determines that executive leadership is impeding company growth, they can force a restructuring. Your son would need 8 votes. Based on what you've told me, he's probably close. Can I stop it? Not if he gets the votes, but you can make it harder. You still have veto power over operational changes. You still control final approval on budget allocations over a certain threshold, and you still have majority share ownership. What does that get me? Leverage, Martin said. Your son can control day-to-day operations, but he can't fundamentally change the company without your consent. Not legally, anyway. What about illegally? Martin was quiet for a moment. That's a different conversation. Have it. If he wanted to force you out completely, he'd need to prove incompetence or malfeasance. Both are hard to prove and harder to make stick. But if he controls enough of the board and enough of the operational structure, he could make your life difficult enough that you'd want to leave. I'm not leaving. Then you need to either fight back or accept the new structure. I'm fighting back, I said. How? By letting him think he's already won. Martin sighed. That's either brilliant or insane. Probably both, I said, and hung up. My wife came home the next morning. She looked relaxed, happy. Her sister always had that effect on her. How was your week? She asked, kissing me. Quiet, I said. She started unpacking, telling me about her visit. I listened, nodded, made appropriate responses. She didn't notice anything wrong. That night, lying in bed, she asked about our son. Have you talked to him lately? We had dinner last week, I said. How's he doing? Good. He's got a lot of ideas for the company. She smiled in the darkness. I'm glad you promoted him. I know it wasn't easy. I didn't respond. He's worked hard, she said. He deserves this. Yeah, I said. She fell asleep. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. The next day, Vincent called. Sir, I have an update. Your son just initiated a transfer request for $3 million. It's labeled as operational expansion, but the receiving account is new. I can't trace who controls it. Can you delay it? I already did, flagged it for review, but he has the authority to override my flag. Let him, I said. Sir, let him. I want to see where the money goes. Vincent hesitated. This is getting very serious. I know. Keep tracking it. I hung up and called Ray. I need you to expand the surveillance, I said. I need to know everywhere he goes, everyone he meets with, and every transaction he makes. That's going to require more people. I don't care. Do it. You're sure about this? I looked out the window of my office. Below, the city moved like it always did. People working, people planning, people trying to build something that would last. I'm sure, I said. That night, I got a call from Dale. Boss, something happened. Your son showed up at the facility this afternoon with 2 guys I didn't recognize. They spent an hour in the equipment bay, taking inventory. Then they left with files. What kind of files? Maintenance records, operational logs, stuff that shows how we allocate resources. Did they say why? Said they were optimizing workflows, but boss, the way they were talking, it sounded like they were planning to move equipment out. I felt my jaw tighten. Where? Didn't say, but I got the impression it was soon. Thanks, Dale. Keep me posted. I hung up and sat in the darkness of my office. He was accelerating, which meant I was running out of time. Dale met me at the entrance, looking grim. He's in the equipment bay, Dale said. Already started loading. On whose authority? The court order. Judge signed it this morning. Says the equipment is essential for company operations and can't be held without cause. I walked past him, through the warehouse to the equipment bay. My son was there with 3 guys I didn't recognize and 2 cops who looked like they wished they were anywhere else. They'd already loaded 2 trucks. Stop, I said. Everyone turned. My son's expression was hard. Dad, don't make this worse. Don't make this worse? I walked toward him. You got a court order to steal company equipment. To access company equipment that I need for operations. Equipment you're blocking out of spite. One of the cops stepped forward. Sir, he has a legal order. I know what he has. I pulled out my phone, called Martin. I'm at the warehouse. My son has a court order to remove equipment. Can he do that? I put it on speaker. Martin's voice came through. What kind of order? My son answered. Emergency operational injunction. Judge Roberts signed it. It authorizes me to access essential equipment being wrongfully withheld. Is the equipment essential to current operations? Martin asked. It's being moved to support new contracts, my son said. Contracts that don't exist, I said. Contracts that are being finalized. With Western Logistics. My son's jaw tightened. That's none of your concern anymore. The hell it isn't. This is still my company. Not for long. One of the cops shifted uncomfortably. Gentlemen, if you could, the order is valid, Martin said through the phone. Technically. But if you can prove the equipment isn't for company operations, you can challenge it. How long does that take? Days, maybe a week. I looked at the loaded trucks, at my son, at the cops who were just doing their job. Then I made a decision. Dale, I said. Cut the power to the loading dock. Dale hesitated. Sir? Do it. He went to the breaker panel. A second later, the dock lights went out. The rolling door stopped mid-close. What are you doing? My son said. Equipment malfunction, I said. Happens all the time. Can't safely load in the dark. Safety violation. That's bullshit. That's protocol. I turned to the cops. OSHA regulations. Can't operate loading equipment without proper lighting. One of the cops looked at the other. They both looked uncomfortable. Is that true? One asked. Absolutely, Dale said. My son stepped toward me. You can't do this. I just did. I'll get another order. Good. Takes about 3 days. I'll wait. We stood there, facing each other in the dim emergency lighting. You're making this personal, my son said quietly. You made it personal 6 weeks ago, when you decided to betray me. I'm not betraying you. I'm replacing you. Same thing. One of his guys spoke up. We should go. Come back with a better order. My son didn't move, just kept staring at me. Then Linda appeared in the doorway. I hadn't seen her car outside. What's happening? She asked. Your father-in-law is sabotaging legal operations, my son said. She looked at me. This is pathetic. You're acting like a child. I'm acting like someone who built something and isn't going to watch you steal it. We're not stealing. We're improving. By moving assets to shell companies you control? By preparing for a future where the company can actually grow instead of stagnating under outdated leadership. I felt my temper slip. Get out of my warehouse. It's not your warehouse, it's a company asset. Get out. The cop stepped forward. Okay, everyone needs to calm down. I'm perfectly calm, I said, not taking my eyes off Linda. I'm just done pretending this is about business. You want my company. You've wanted it since the day you married my son. Well, you can't have it. We'll see about that, she said. My son touched her arm. Let's go. We'll handle this properly. They left. The cops followed, looking relieved to escape the family drama. Dale turned the power back on. That was intense, he said. It's going to get worse, I said. I was right. The next morning, I got served with papers. My son was suing me for interference with business operations, asking for an injunction against me preventing him from executing his duties as VP of operations. Martin called right after the process server left. This is aggressive, he said. He's trying to box you in legally. Can he win? Maybe. He has a case that you're impeding legitimate business functions, but you also have a case that he's exceeding his authority. So we go to court? Looks like it, unless you want to settle. Settle how? Give him what he wants, in exchange for keeping this quiet. No. Then prepare for a fight. Discovery, depositions, everything about the company becoming public record. Do it. That afternoon, my son held a press conference. I found out about it from a news alert on my phone. He was standing outside company headquarters with Linda beside him, talking to a cluster of reporters. This is a difficult situation, he was saying. My father is a brilliant businessman. He built this company from nothing. But unfortunately, he's reached a point where he can't separate his personal feelings from business necessity. I love my father, but I love this company too. And I won't let it suffer because of family politics. A reporter asked, Are the allegations of financial misconduct true? There's no misconduct. Everything I've done has been within my legal authority as VP of operations. My father is upset that the company is evolving beyond his original vision. That's understandable, but it's not a reason to sabotage growth. Another reporter, What about the lawsuit? I didn't want it to come to this. But he's left me no choice. When someone interferes with legal business operations, you have to respond through appropriate channels. Linda leaned toward the microphone. We're hoping this can be resolved quickly and amicably, for the sake of the company and the employees who depend on it. I turned off my phone. My wife was watching from the doorway of my office. He just called you incompetent on television, she said. I know. What are you going to do? I thought about that. About the fact that this had gone from a private family matter to public warfare in less than 24 hours. I'm going to end this, I said. I spent the rest of the day making calls, first to the board members I could still count on. Emergency meeting. Tomorrow. We need to vote on suspending his authority completely. Helen hesitated. That's going to look like retaliation. It is retaliation, but it's also necessary. I'll be there. Then to Vincent. I need ammunition. everything you have on his financial moves, everything that looks questionable. Already compiled. But sir, if this goes public, it's already public. He made sure of that. Then, to Ray. The surveillance. I need more. I need to know everyone he's talking to, everyone Linda's talking to, every meeting, every phone call. That's getting expensive. I don't care. Then to Dale. The equipment stays locked down. I don't care what orders he gets. He's going to come back with more cops. Let him try. Finally, I called someone I hadn't talked to in years, an old friend from the industry who now ran a private investigation firm. His name was Jack. We'd started our businesses around the same time, helped each other out when things got rough. I need deep background, I told him, on Marcus Chen and Western Logistics, everything, financial records, business practices, legal issues, anything that might show what kind of deal my son's really making. How deep? Underwater. That's going to take time. You have 2 weeks. I hung up and sat in the silence of my office. My phone buzzed. A text from my son. This didn't have to get ugly. You still have time to back down. I deleted it without responding. The emergency board meeting happened the next day. My son showed up with Linda and a lawyer. I had Martin. Richard Kemp looked exhausted. This is unprecedented. We've never had to deal with a situation like this. Then let's set a precedent, I said. I'm formally requesting that the board suspend my son's operational authority pending a full investigation of his business dealings. On what grounds? My son's lawyer asked. On the grounds that he's been moving company assets without proper authorization, negotiating deals without board approval, and acting in his own interest rather than the company's. He has the authority to do all of those things, the lawyer said. You gave it to him when you promoted him. I gave him operational authority, not the authority to dismantle the company. That's your interpretation. It's the truth. The lawyer turned to the board. This is a clear case of a founder unable to accept succession. He's weaponizing the board against his own son because he can't handle not being in control. Martin stood up. This is a case of an executive abusing his position for personal gain. We have documented evidence of financial irregularities, unauthorized asset transfers, and meetings with competitors that could constitute breach of fiduciary duty. We'll address those allegations in court, the lawyer said. Then address them now, Helen said. We deserve answers. The lawyer looked at my son. Some signal passed between them. Then my son stood up. Fine. You want answers? Here they are. Yes, I've been in talks with Western Logistics. Yes, I've been moving equipment and restructuring assets. And yes, I've been doing it without my father's approval, because his approval would never come. He's too stuck in the past to see opportunities. What opportunities? James Brennan asked. Western Logistics wants to merge with us. A full merger. They'd acquire our operations, integrate our systems, and create the largest regional logistics network in the Southwest. The deal values our company at 3 times current market value. The room went silent. You were selling the company, Richard Kemp said slowly. I was positioning us for the best possible outcome. Without telling anyone? Without telling people who would say no before hearing the full proposal. I felt cold. What's your cut? My son looked at me. What? The deal. What do you get out of it? He didn't answer. Let me guess, I said. Executive position in the merged company. Stock options? Probably a signing bonus. Still nothing. And what happens to everyone else? The employees? The board? The company we built? They get bought out at a premium, my son said. Everyone makes money, including you. I don't want money. I want the company. The company doesn't exist without evolution. This is evolution. This is betrayal wrapped in business terminology. This is the future whether you like it or not. Richard Kemp held up his hand. Enough. We need to vote. All in favor of suspending operational authority pending investigation? Helen's hand went up. Then James Brennan's. Then 2 others I'd thought were lost. 5 votes. All against? 4 hands, including Richard Kemp's. The motion passes, Kemp said heavily. Effective immediately, your operational authority is suspended. My son stood up. This is a mistake. Maybe, Kemp said. But it's the board's decision. My son looked around the room, then at me. This isn't over, he said. Then he left. Linda and the lawyer followed. After they were gone, the room stayed quiet for a long time. What now? Helen asked. Now we investigate, I said. Find out exactly what deal he was making and what it would have cost us. And if we find he was acting in the company's best interest, then I'll apologize and step aside. I didn't believe that would happen. Neither did she. That night, Jack called. I found something, he said. Western Logistics is in trouble, big trouble. They're carrying massive debt from an expansion that failed. They need an acquisition to survive. So the merger isn't a merger. It's a takeover. They'd buy your company with leveraged debt, strip the valuable assets, and leave the rest to collapse under the weight of their obligations. Jesus. It gets worse. There are clauses in the draft agreement, and yes, I got a copy of the draft, that protect executives who facilitate the deal. Your son would walk away with millions while the company burned. Send me everything. Already did. I pulled up the email, started reading. The more I read, the angrier I got. My son hadn't just been stealing. He'd been destroying. I forwarded everything to Martin, to Vincent, to every board member. Then I called my son. He answered on the 4th ring. What? I know about the debt, about the asset stripping, about everything. Silence. You weren't just selling the company, I said. You were killing it. That's not... I have the documents, the draft agreement, all of it. More silence. Western Logistics is dying, I said. And you were going to let them kill us to save themselves, all so you could walk away rich. You don't understand the full picture. Then explain it. I can't. Not over the phone. Then meet me, tomorrow, somewhere we can talk. He hesitated. Where? The original warehouse, the one we started in, 6 a.m. Why there? Because I want you to remember what this was before you decided to destroy it. He hung up. I sat there in the dark, thinking about what was going to happen. This wasn't about business anymore. It wasn't even about betrayal. This was about making sure my son understood exactly what he'd tried to do, and making sure he paid for it. The old warehouse was on the east side, in a neighborhood that had been rough when I'd rented it and hadn't improved much since. The building itself was still standing, but barely. Boarded windows, graffiti on the walls, weeds growing through cracks in the parking lot. I got there at 5:30. Wanted time to walk through it before my son arrived. The lock was rusted, but my old key still worked. Inside, the space was gutted. Everything I'd built here was long gone, moved to better facilities, sold off, replaced. But the bones were the same. The high ceilings, the loading dock, the small office in the corner where I'd spent nights doing paperwork by desk lamp because I couldn't afford to run the overhead lights. This was where it started, where I'd made promises to people about building something that mattered, where I'd worked until my hands bled and my back gave out and my wife begged me to quit. I never quit. I walked through the empty space, my footsteps echoing. My son arrived exactly at 6. I heard his car outside, then footsteps, then the door opening. He stopped when he saw me. I haven't been here in years, he said. Neither have I. He walked in slowly, looking around. It's smaller than I remember. Most things are. We stood in the empty warehouse, father and son, with 30 years of history between us. Why are we here? He asked. Because I want you to see what you're destroying. This place is abandoned. The place is. The idea isn't. I turned to face him. I started here with nothing. No money, no connections. Just the belief that I could build something that mattered. And I did. I built a company that employed hundreds of people, that supported families, That meant something. I know the story. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you've forgotten it. He bristled. I haven't forgotten anything. I'm trying to build on what you started. No, you're trying to cash out. That's not true. I pulled out my phone, showed him the documents Jack had sent. Western Logistics is dying. Their debt load is unsustainable. This merger isn't about growth. It's about them using our assets to cover their obligations. And when it collapses, and it will collapse, everyone loses everything. Except you. You walk away with millions. He stared at the screen. How did you get this? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you knew. You had to know. He handed back my phone. I knew they had debt. Everyone has debt. This isn't normal debt. This is catastrophic debt. They're drowning, and you were going to let them pull us down with them. The deal would have saved both companies. The deal would have destroyed ours. You don't know that. I know exactly that. I've seen this play before. Big company buys small company with borrowed money, promises synergy and growth, then strips the assets and leaves a corpse. That's what was going to happen. You're being paranoid. I'm being realistic. I stepped toward him. Tell me something. When did you decide to do this? When did you look at the company I built and decide it was worth sacrificing for a payout? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He turned away, walked toward the old loading dock, stood there looking out at the parking lot through the broken doors. You want to know the truth? He said. Fine. I've been planning this for 3 years, since before you promoted me, since before Linda and I even got married. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Why? Because I was tired. Tired of being your son. Tired of working in your company. Tired of everyone comparing everything I did to what you'd done. He turned back to me. Do you know what it's like? Growing up as the founder's kid, everyone watching, everyone expecting, everyone waiting for you to either be just like Dad or fail trying. So you decided to destroy what I built? I decided to create my own path. The Western Logistics deal was going to set me up to start something new. Something mine. Not yours. Mine. Using my company as collateral. Using the opportunity I earned. I worked for this company for years. I put in the time. I deserved a reward. You deserved a position, authority, trust. You didn't deserve to steal. I wasn't stealing. I was taking what was owed to me. Nothing was owed to you. You got the same thing everyone else gets, the chance to prove yourself. And instead of proving yourself, you tried to cheat. We stared at each other across the empty warehouse. I'm not cheating, my son said. I'm winning. No, you're losing. You just don't know it yet. He laughed. Really? Because from where I'm standing, I've still got options. I've got lawyers, I've got Linda, I've got connections. What do you have? A bunch of board members who'll turn on you the second you look weak? I have something you don't. What's that? I have the truth, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. His expression hardened. If you expose the Western Logistics deal, you'll tank our stock price, destroy investor confidence. Everything you're trying to protect will collapse anyway. Maybe, but at least it'll be honest collapse, not the fraud you were planning. It's not fraud. It's close enough. He pulled out his phone. I'm done with this conversation. We're not done. Yes, we are. I'm going to my lawyer. We're going to file for an injunction against you interfering with any business operations, and we're going to make this as public and ugly as necessary to force you to back down. Good, I said, because I want it public. I want everyone to know what you tried to do. He stopped. You're bluffing. Try me. We stood there, locked in some kind of standoff. Then my phone rang. It was Dale. Boss, you need to get to the main warehouse. Now. What's wrong? Your son's guys are here, with another court order. They're taking everything. I looked at my son. He was looking at his phone, smirking slightly. "You had this planned," I said. "Insurance," he said, "in case you didn't see reason." I felt rage unlike anything I'd felt in years, the kind of rage that makes you forget everything except the need to act. "You're making this personal," I said quietly. "You made it personal when you started spying on me." I walked toward the door. "This is your last chance," I said. "Call them off. Stop this now. And maybe we can still fix this." "No," he said. "I'm done asking permission. I'm taking what's mine." I stopped at the door. "Then you better be ready for what comes next." I drove to the warehouse faster than I'd driven in years. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my home office, going through every document, every photo, every piece of evidence I'd collected, making sure I understood it all, making sure I could explain it clearly when the time came. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed, a text from my son. "I heard about the press conference. Don't do this." I didn't reply. Another text 5 minutes later. "You'll destroy the company. Is that what you want?" Still didn't reply. A third text. "Please, can we talk?" I turned off my phone. At 5 a.m., I got dressed. Suit and tie, the same ones I'd worn when I'd first pitched my business idea to investors 30 years ago. They still fit, barely. My wife was awake, sitting in the kitchen with coffee she wasn't drinking. "You don't have to do this," she said. "Yes, I do. There's still time to—" "There's no time. He made his choices. Now I'm making mine." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I love you both. How am I supposed to choose?" "You're not. This isn't about choosing. This is about consequences." I kissed her forehead and left. The press conference was scheduled for 8 a.m. at a hotel downtown. I'd rented a conference room and hired a PR firm to send out notifications. By 7:30, the room was packed. Reporters, cameras, board members, employees, even some competitors who probably wanted to see the drama unfold. My son was there too, standing in the back with Linda and their lawyer. His expression was cold. Martin met me outside the room. "Last chance to back out," he said. "I'm not backing out." "Then let's do this right. Stick to the facts. Don't get emotional. Let the evidence speak." "I will." "And be ready for questions. They're going to ask about family, about succession, about whether this is revenge." "It's not revenge. It's accountability. Try to remember that when they ask." We walked in together. The room went quiet. I took the podium, adjusted the microphone, looked out at the crowd. Then I began. "Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address serious concerns about the future of my company and the actions of my son, who currently serves as Vice President of Operations." I could see my son tense, even from across the room. 3 weeks ago, my accountant alerted me to financial irregularities. Since then, I've conducted an investigation that has revealed a systematic effort to transfer company assets, negotiate unauthorized deals, and ultimately position the company for a merger that would have been catastrophic for everyone involved, except those facilitating it. I clicked to the first slide. Financial records. These documents show transfers of company equipment and funds to shell entities that are controlled by my son and his wife. Cameras flashed. Reporters started typing. These transfers were done without board approval, without proper authorization, and without regard for the legal and ethical obligations my son had as an executive of this company. Next slide. Photos of my son meeting with Marcus Chen. These photos show my son meeting with Marcus Chen, CEO of Western Logistics Corporation, our largest competitor. These meetings occurred over several months and resulted in a draft merger agreement. I could hear murmuring in the crowd. The merger agreement, which I've provided to the board and will make available to the press, would have resulted in Western Logistics acquiring our company through a leveraged buyout. The deal was structured to protect executives who facilitated it while exposing the company to massive debt and eventual asset liquidation. The murmuring got louder. In simple terms, my son was arranging to sell the company to a failing competitor in a deal that would have enriched him personally while destroying everything we've built over 30 years. I paused. Let that sink in. I want to be clear. This is not about family politics. This is not about a father unwilling to let go. This is about fiduciary duty, about legal obligations, about the difference between legitimate business strategy and self-serving betrayal. I clicked to the next slide. A timeline showing every questionable action, every transfer, every meeting. The evidence is extensive and documented. My son abused the authority I gave him. He violated the trust of this board, our employees, and our stakeholders, and he did it knowingly, deliberately, and without remorse. A reporter raised her hand. I'll take questions in a moment, I said. Let me finish. I took a breath. I founded this company 30 years ago with nothing but a truck and a promise. I've spent 3 decades building something that matters, employing people, serving clients, contributing to our community, and I will not stand by while someone, even my own son, destroys that for personal gain. I looked directly at my son. Effective immediately, I am formally requesting that the board terminate my son's employment and remove him from all operational authority. I am also referring these matters to our legal counsel for potential civil and criminal investigation. The room erupted. Reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, board members looking shocked. My son pushed through the crowd toward the podium. "This is bullshit," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Security moved to intercept him, but I held up my hand. "Let him speak," I said. My son reached the podium, grabbed the microphone. "My father is lying. Everything I did was within my legal authority. Everything was aimed at growing the company. And yes, I met with Western Logistics, because unlike him, I understand that we can't compete in the modern market by clinging to outdated business models." "You were selling the company to cover their debt," I said. "I was negotiating a merger that would have made us the dominant player in regional logistics, with you walking away rich and everyone else left with nothing." "That's not true." I pulled out a copy of the draft agreement, held it up. Page 17, Executive Compensation Clause. You would have received a $20 million signing bonus, stock options worth another $30 million, and a guaranteed position in the merged company. Everyone else, employees, board members, stakeholders, would have been subject to operational restructuring, which is code for layoffs and asset sales. The room went silent. My son grabbed the document, read it. His face went pale. "I didn't know about this clause," he said. "Really?" "Because your wife negotiated it." All eyes turned to Linda, standing in the back. She stepped forward. "That clause was standard executive protection. Every merger has them." "Not every merger has the company being acquired also carrying the debt burden of the acquiring company," I said. "That's what makes this different. They were going to use our assets to keep themselves alive for another year, maybe 2. Then they'd liquidate everything and walk away, and you two would walk away rich." "We were trying to save both companies," Linda said. "You were trying to save yourselves." A reporter shouted a question. "Did you know about Western Logistics' financial situation?" My son hesitated. "I knew they had some debt." "Some debt?" I pulled out another document. "They're carrying $700 million in obligations. Their revenue is declining. Their market share is shrinking. They're 1 bad quarter from bankruptcy, and you were going to merge us with them. The deal had provisions. The deal had provisions to protect you, not the company." Another reporter. "Why did you do this?" My son looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at the board members watching from the side. Then he looked at me. "Because I wanted out," he said. "Out from under his shadow, out from under the constant comparisons, out from under the expectation that I'd spend my whole life maintaining his legacy." The room was silent. "I worked for this company for years," he continued. And every day people reminded me that I was the founder's son, that I had big shoes to fill, that I needed to live up to his example. I got tired of it. So yes, I planned an exit. I planned to take what I'd earned and start something new. You didn't earn anything, I said. You were given a position, an opportunity, and you tried to steal your way out. I tried to create my own path by destroying mine. We stared at each other. Then a board member spoke up, Richard Kemp. I've seen enough, he said. The board will convene immediately to discuss termination and legal action. My son's lawyer stepped forward. My client will fight any termination. He has contracts. He has rights. He has consequences, Kemp said, and he's about to face them. The press conference dissolved into chaos. Reporters mobbing my son, board members arguing, security trying to clear the room. I stepped down from the podium and walked out. Martin caught up with me in the hallway. That was intense, he said. It had to be done. The board's going to act fast, probably vote by end of day. Good. Your son's lawyer is going to fight it. Let him try. We walked to the parking garage. Martin stopped before getting in his car. You know this destroys any chance of reconciliation, right? Family-wise? I know. And you're okay with that? I thought about my son as a kid, teaching him to ride a bike, helping him with homework, watching him graduate, promoting him, all the moments that led to this one. No, I said, but I'm doing it anyway. The board met that afternoon. I wasn't invited, neither was my son. Just the 12 board members, Martin representing legal and Vincent representing finance. They deliberated for 4 hours. I spent that time in my office, fielding calls, reporters wanting comments, employees wanting reassurance, clients wanting to know if the company was stable. I gave everyone the same answer. The situation is being handled. Business continues as normal. Around 6 p.m., Helen called. It's done, she said. 11 votes to 1. He's terminated immediately. All access revoked. We're also referring the matter to authorities for investigation. What was the one vote? Richard Kemp said he wanted more time to review evidence, but he was outvoted. Thank you, Helen. Don't thank me. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Your son's lawyer is already preparing wrongful termination suits. The press is going to have a field day, and the company's reputation is going to take a hit. I know. Was it worth it? I thought about that, about everything I'd lost, everything I'd sacrificed. Ask me in a year, I said. An hour later, my son called. I let it go to voicemail. Then he called again. I answered. What? I said. You destroyed me. His voice was shaking. You publicly humiliated me. You got me fired. You ruined my career. All because you couldn't let go of control. All because you tried to steal from me. I didn't steal. I worked. I earned that position. I earned the right to make decisions. You earned nothing. I gave you everything, and you threw it away. No, you took it away, because you can't stand the idea of someone else running your precious company. I can't stand the idea of my son being a thief. He was quiet for a moment. I'm not a thief, he said finally. I'm a businessman who made aggressive moves. If I wasn't your son, you'd call it smart strategy. If you weren't my son, you'd never have been in a position to try it. You're right, he said. I should have left years ago, should have started something on my own, instead of wasting time trying to prove myself to you. Then why didn't you? Because I thought eventually you'd see me as more than just your son, as a partner, as someone who could build something alongside you instead of in your shadow. Then you should have built it, not stolen it. I'm done with this conversation, he said. My lawyer will be in touch. He hung up. I sat in my office as the sun set, thinking about everything that had happened. My son was gone. The company was damaged. My family was broken. But the truth was out. And sometimes that's all you can ask for.